Good evening, everyone. My name's Abbie, and I am a business manager at UCL Business. And I hope everybody here has now noticed that UCL Business has quite a significant presence here. I'll host a selection showing some of UCL's technologies. Thank you for that introduction. So UCL Business is the technology transfer organisation for UCL. What does that mean? We think of ourselves as the commercial arm of University College London, which is a charity. We are a PLC, a publicly listed company, but we're wholly owned by UCL. And I think historically lots of these sorts of organisations were once departments of universities. Now we're a commercial organisation. We're owned by UCL, but the field is changing such that some privately owned companies are moving into this space, which is an interesting development. We're financially self-sufficient and we're profitable, which is not altogether typical for the sector. We have a very strong board of directors who have industry experience, and we like to think of ourselves as the interface between UCL and industry, though we're aware that that interface stretches far beyond our remit. So I'm going to show you the organisational chart. It's a bit busy, but it's really to show you what we do. Technology transfer really is our bread and butter. So this is divided into two sections: the physical sciences and engineering, and the bio and pharma. But we also have people on the art side. We have an agreement with UCL where UCL cedes to UCL Business the right to manage its intellectual property to UCLB. So I'll talk more about that in a minute. We also have UCL consultants. So all of our academics here at UCL are lucky enough to have 40 days a year in which to do consultancy. So there's a great opportunity for them to do that. We manage that through UCL consultants. We also have a new ventures department where we do spin-out companies, and we have many spin-out companies and a long history of spinning out, and a marketing department, which is self-evident. So, as I mentioned, UCL owns the intellectual property that's generated by its staff, and that's the law. It's the UK Patents Act 1977. If you're at work and you have an invention, then it belongs to your employer. So sometimes that's news to people. But the exception to that are students who actually own their own IP. So if you're working on your PhD, you own your own IP. You might have to sign it away at the beginning of your PhD. But mostly we really tend to deal with PIs, and students that we do come into contact with are usually joint inventors on something with their professor. And mostly students tend to assign their IP rights to UCL and then to UCL Business, because it's incredibly expensive to patent and protect intellectual property, whether that be through patent, trademark, design right, copyright. So we cover all of that cost and manage the intellectual property. We have a patent portfolio manager who looks after that entire complicated process for us. So the process is UCL assign IP to UCL Business. And our remit is really to commercialise UCL IP for the benefit of the public, the university and the inventors. So our vision is that at UCL we have a huge amount of research going on here, and we want to try and get that IP out there for the public good. So what we do at UCL Business, it's actually a very interesting place to work. It's a bit like Dragon's Den in a way, in that we're constantly presented with new inventions and we assess them. Are they commercially viable? Could we protect this invention? Is there any prior art out there? Is there someone else who's discovered this already? Is it novel? Is it inventive? So can we patent? We decide whether to patent in that way and cover the patenting costs. And then we think about how we could possibly commercialise this invention. Actually, we probably should have thought about that before patenting. But we consider what route to commercialisation we'd like to take. Is it a licensing opportunity, or is it something we could put into a company and spin out? And we really try to encourage UCL academics to be entrepreneurial. So we give a very generous revenue share to the inventors. At first it's 70% of of revenues in order to try and generate an entrepreneurial spirit at UCL. So here are our investment models, licensing or spin-out. Licensing is a lot more straightforward. You're giving it to a company that's already established, knows what they're doing, you're not reinventing the wheel. A spin-out, you have to really understand the market. Perhaps you've got to have more than one product, a whole platform technology, or several things in the pipeline. And our role really is to bridge the gap between academia and industry. And there is this classic perception of blue sky research at universities, and then industry not being willing to bridge the gap, and we're trying to bridge that gap. So another quite complex slide. This is our sort of vision. Here on the left we have UCL with a huge turnover and research income of over 200 million. We have nearly 4,000 academics doing incredibly cutting-edge and valuable research. And on the other side, here's UCL Business with our licensing, spin-outs, collaborations, contract research. We get involved in research collaborations and services. And at the top, we usually try and partner with a company, or we are partnering with a company. And the output is financial, benefiting UCL, investors, inventors, departments, and then the metrics here, beneficiaries here are HEFC and the UK economy. So when we get IP into UCL, we try and develop our IP pipeline by investing in particular pieces of IP. So of our portfolio, we review and select very exciting projects. We can provide proof of concept funding, which is always very welcome to academics and projects. And we provide project development and project management services for those projects. And we invest in projects, whether that's independently or jointly. So our vision is to build valuable research programs for licensing or for spinning out. So the services, we're also a service company, and we provide MTAs, that's a material transfer agreement. So if in your lab you've got some human tissue samples and you'd like to send them to Venezuela, then you have to complete one of these forms. And they list things like, do you have the correct consents to send those samples? What's going to happen if any IP is generated with them? We also do CDAs, confidential disclosure agreements. And I hope everyone here is aware that in order to have a patent accepted, it has to be novel, which means that if you have an invention, don't publicize it or tell anyone about it before you think about patenting it, because you won't be able to patent it. And if you do want to tell someone about it, get a CDA and we can set those up for you. We also look at IP issues, consultancy and commercial contracts. And our remit is also to engage staff with knowledge transfer activity. So our quality pipeline, if you come to meet us and you've got an invention, we'll ask you to fill out an invention disclosure form that describes your invention, who owns it, who are the inventors, who's funded it. We'll review that and see if we want to file a patent. We may support any additional studies to bridge that gap between blue sky research and something that's more commercial. And the output, we hope, is a valuable real-world solution. So we are very near here. We're on Tottenham Court Road, number 97, which is above Multi-York and Ultimate Burger. And we also have a great website, which is uclb.com. It's got summaries of many of our inventions. It's got summaries of many of our spin-out companies. It's also got resources about what is a patent, who to approach. And I'm here this evening with my colleague Chris Loriman, and we're in this area over here. So if you want to come and talk to us about any issues, please feel free to do so. And lastly, thank you very much to the Enterprise Club for this fantastic event. Thank you. Thank you.